Welcome back everybody to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I appreciate you watching my channel. I am making a video today. This is the debut video of my latest Singer 15-91. For those of you who are new to vintage sewing machines or maybe just new to this model, this is part of a series of what are called 15 class machines that the Singer company created. Singer invented the Singer 15. And many companies copied the layout. They copied the bobbin system, the shuttle system, as well as having the upper tension dial on the left side. And this particular one being a 15-91, again, there were a number of 15 models and variations, but this one was more commonly seen is more commonly seen in the United States. There are some in Canada, but most of them are in the US. And it is its unique claim to fame, of course, is that it has a direct drive motor, meaning the motor does not use a belt. Instead of having the motor mounted on the back with a belt that connects to the hand wheel and a groove, this particular machine has a hand wheel with a gear, and that gear connects to a worm gear inside the motor, which is kind of shaped like your finger, your index finger, and that is how power is transferred to the drive shaft and of course to the needle. And even though the amperage is not any higher than any other Singer motor from the period, it's been my experience that if you have a project where you've got some heavier materials, the 1591 can actually be again, I call it the strongest domestic sewing machine ever built. Now, most of you who are interested in vintage machines, you want a machine that can do lots of things, not just heavy materials. You can sew lightweight materials. You could sew handkerchiefs with this machine, or you could sew canvas slipcovers with it and drapery. It was that flexible, as all vintage machines needed to be. So if you need to sew heavy material, most vintage sewing machines are going to be able to handle it for you. If you need something a little stronger, I think a Singer 15 class, such as this one, is an excellent choice. You can also find Japanese clones or copies of this model, and they're pretty darn strong in their own right. But if you've tried all of those and you can't get, let's say you can fit the material under the foot, but you just can't get the machine to sew it. It's just too either dense or there's just too much for the machine to take on. This is kind of the last stop before you move into either an industrial machine or what we often call commercial machines, which are like the larger heavy-duty models that were used in tailor shops. But this is why I say if you need a domestic sewing machine, this is the strongest domestic machine ever built. It's as far as dedicated straight stitchers go. It is a beast of beasts, and I often show it with heavy materials. We're going to sew some today, but again, if you would like a vintage machine but you also want to sew other materials, don't get the feeling that you can only sew heavy stuff with this thing, because it is, like all vintage machines, had to be flexible. They were so darned expensive that most people considered themselves fortunate to be able to pay off any machine, and it had to be really flexible. So I've got sunlight in here today, so I'm not going to use the light. But this machine, and I'll have, by the way, for those of you who see the posting, I'm going to post the ad for this on Kijiji as well as Facebook Marketplace. And when you see it listed, you'll see a long list of the things that I've done for it. I got to create the ad for it yet. I'm literally just making the video, and then the ad will be posted, and it'll have a long list of everything that was done to the machine. And let's see, but just a few highlights to just mention to you right off the bat. The potted motor was serviced. It had all of its old grease removed. New grease was installed with new grease wicks, and that seems to make the machine very happy. It has a new power cord. It has a new foot pedal, an electronic foot pedal that will, and you can also use the original Singer foot pedal because that is overhauled as well, but that's really up to you. But I have installed it with a new pedal, new cord, new light bulb, again LED which I prefer, new bobbin winder tire, and then again the rest of the maintenance list will be on the posting. So let's get right into some sewing here, guys. You've seen some of this material before. I have material I just like to go through until it's gone. This is sort of a medium weight cotton. It's not, this is not heavy, but it's, it's not a lightweight. I'd say light, medium. I know that we don't have a numerical gauge for that, but anyway, let's go ahead and see what the old iron sides will do now that it has had the overhaul that it's been waiting for quite a long time. And we're going to have it in the longest stitch length here. Of course, I can slow down if I want. I can also go into reverse. Of course, this does have reverse, as most machines from this era would have had. There may have been a few in production still, but for the most part, this machine, you can see I can even just barely tap the foot pedal, and I can move the needle really slowly when I want to. And what else can we do here? Let's see. You've got a wonderful stitch, and I'll show you guys the stitch quality in just a moment. And because you guys often like to check behind me, and I appreciate that. I love that. That's really helpful. We're going to shorten the stitch length just to kind of give you an idea of the flexibility of the machine. Let's see. You can see that the fabric will be feeding a little more slowly because we're basically slowing or shortening the stitch length. And I'm not flooring it here, guys. I can really go a lot faster. The machine is remarkably fast for a vintage model. I suspect that a lot of you don't really need a machine to go faster. Some of you have been sewing all your lives, and you can probably sew so fast, we couldn't actually see it if we wanted to. So I'll come back. Let's see here. I think I'll go ahead and take this off so you guys can take a look at what we've got, the stitches. And again, this is 2 layers of a light medium cotton, and then of course you may have seen this in some other videos. You've got a seam here, so you've got 2, 3, 4. See, there are places where you've got 4 layers of this, and other places where it's 2. So let's start. We'll start at the top. So you can see here at the very top row, guys, you see this sort of turquoise, and it comes right over the seam and doesn't miss a beat, right? Notice the tension is true even though the density doubled, and then it comes back. Here is where I did my little back tacking or reverse, and let's take a look at the other side. You can see I've got sort of a cream colored thread for the bobbin thread, beautifully balanced stitch, and then you can see where I really shortened the stitch. Now this is not the rotary shuttle hook from Singer. This is the oscillating. Remember, the class 15 is an oscillating hook. But look at these wonderfully short stitches. Now many of you will not necessarily, you can see the turquoise side here, and of course even the short stitches maintain their tension beautifully. Many of you will not necessarily use those short stitch lengths. If you're sewing knits, they can be very helpful. There may be other situations where you guys use them. If you're a seasoned sewer, let me know when you guys use short stitches. Now, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and fold this over, and we will see what it does. That'll be 4 layers, and then in some places it'll be 6 where we hit those seams. Let's see what it wants to do with this. And again, this is this is adding. We're adding layers, and we're asking it to do more. Now, in this machine will come with, and you guys will see this in the posting, I've got quite a few of the original accessories, right? None of them are redundant. You're going to see it has the original manual, and you'll see photos of this. And there's an entire box of, and this came with this machine, everything from a tucker to a ruffler, slotted binder. There's a seam guide. adjustable hammer foot, rolled hammer foot, zipper foot, and 2 bobbins that will come with the machine. So there's quite a lot of accessories here if you have a need for them. And oh, by the way, it will also include, I came across, sometimes I get these things. This one actually came with this machine, but I sometimes come across these. These are Singer needles, and they're jeans needles, and what that means is a jeans needle is simply a heavier duty needle, right? It's got a beefier construction. It's for sewing any heavy fabric. Sometimes I think people see jeans and they go, oh, I can only use it on jeans, which is no, that's not the case at all. And these were, I don't know if it'll show up here, but they were made in Germany, right? Singer needles, to my knowledge, are no longer made in Germany, but these are, and they were in the pack, so there's nothing wrong with them, okay? So they're perfectly fine to use, and I'm going to include a few of those for whoever buys the machine. Let you take those. You don't have to use jeans needles, but when you are sewing heavy items, a jeans needle will be your friend, because while you can break any needle, a jeans needle is going to resist breaking more than a simple universal one. Okay, let's see, and I'll go ahead and I like to start with my needle down. Probably don't have to with this machine, but I like to. Oh, let's take our stitch length back to the longest, so it'll be easier for you guys to see. Now, notice that I am sewing, and I've slowed it down intentionally, okay? It'll sew faster, but I'm going more slowly just to make sure that I don't break a needle, okay? Yes, I'm using a jeans needle. You say, well, you just told us you're using a jeans needle. Yes, but remember, everything has its limits, guys. So always, I always like to be extra cautious, because I don't want the needle to pop and have to deal with that. Okay, so I'm going to come back, and I'm going to loosen up the pressure on the presser bar just a bit, because I've got, some good thickness here. Building up a decent speed, but I wouldn't sew any faster than this. Again, the machine will. The machine has the power. I could floor it. It'll go faster, but again, the needle is saying, you know what? Give me a break here. Let me sew this heavy stuff without issue. And there you go, guys. 4 layers of medium light cotton. Again, a lovely stitch, and it still, when it goes over the seams, there are places when you're going to hit 6 layers, and it doesn't seem to mind at all. And you can see the bobbin thread on the other side. So far, so good. Okay, let's take... You guys have seen this sample before. I simply use my seam ripper and remove it because it's such a great way to show off a really powerful machine. This is old school Levi's heavy self-edge denim. And this is a leather Levi's badge. I don't know what I'm not even sure what to call it. Patch. We'll call it the Levi's patch. You guys correct me if you got the right word there. Okay, I'm going to run this through here, and we will see what this machine has to say about it. I suspect, like all the others, it will sew it and not mind at all. And honestly, any vintage model guys should do this for you. I just think that when you're pushing even a vintage model to the limit, that's when something like a 15-91 can really be your friend. Now, one of the little things I want to be sure of here, and I'm turning this with my hand, is remember, whatever you're going to sew has to go under the presser foot, okay? So when you're building up layers, those of you who are seasoned sewers know this already. You want to basically, let's give you guys a little bit better angle there. You want to basically go slow and make sure, right, that you're going to help guide this material. Okay. Make sure that oops, you can see I didn't get the little belt loop under the foot. not quite like I wanted. So I'll lift up just a little bit. There we go. So the machine is essentially waiting for me, right? There's no computer to beep at me saying, hey, what are you doing? The machine will sit there and wait for you or me in this case to get your stuff under the foot so it can do what you're asking it to do. So you can't blame the machine there. You can blame the sewer. That would be me. Okay, so let's come back. I'll come back again, guys. And one thing to mention, this is a combination of heavy fabric and leather. Leather, ideally, you want a leather-tipped needle, okay? And I don't have one here. It's still sewed. But let's see what it'll do with the belt loop. Now that the belt loop is down a little bit. Whoops. Put your presser foot down there. Now I'm going to make sure that we're feeding. And let's see. Let's take a look at the stitches, guys, because again, whenever you stress a sewing machine, you are asking it to do things that other machines can't do. So let's take a look. Came here. Notice it went through this. This is at least two layers of this pretty heavy denim. This is not the cheap, crappy denim most jeans are made from today. Notice you come across, it hits the leather, no change in tension. The stitches are really lovely. It comes back, and after the feed dogs move us back into denim, and then you've got the belt loop, and the belt loop was not held down by yours truly, and that's why it's looking like this. It's not the machine's fault. And then we came around, and we came back, and again, it demonstrated why I call this the most powerful domestic sewing machine ever made. And now the cream bobbin thread, a little tougher to see, but I think you can still make it out. Still beautiful stitches. It's, I try to get as much contrast as I can normally. And then the last thing I want to sew is this is nylon webbing. And if you look at it, it's not as thick as what I just sewed in these other samples, but it's very dense. And nylon webbing is a very dense material, and it can throw off some sewing machines. So let's come over here, and we'll give it a run, see what it wants to do. I'll back tack. And again, it's really useful for your machine if you'll go ahead and have the needle down anytime you're sewing anything heavy. I don't technically have to here because the 1591 is so powerful, but your needle will appreciate it, and why not? And I've noticed you don't typically need to spool. Spooling is particularly, singers are particularly known for this. A lot of times when you have a belted motor, you kind of tug on the hand wheel. It's not unlike when you're letting out a clutch on a manual speed transmission. I typically don't see a need to do that with the direct drive, but your experience may vary some. Anyway, let's see what it did with the nylon. And this machine comes in a gorgeous, really lovely mahogany cabinet. It's got 4 drawers, or 3 drawers and a kind of a mini cabinet. So here we go, guys. You will see the stitches that it put into 2 layers of this nylon. And over here, you'll see this is where I did my back tacking there, so that's normal. And not too shabby. Again, if you don't want to sew heavy stuff, but you just want an amazingly, archival, heirloom quality machine, this would certainly be one to take a look at. And again, there will be a lot of photographs on the posting, so you can see I can only fit so many photos in the posting, but I'll select some to kind of give you a sort of a sampling of all of the things that I will list in terms of what was done to the machine, what was overhauled to get it ready for its new owner. So The 15-91 is now ready, guys. This is its debut video. Now I have made a number of videos as I've gone through talking about how to do maintenance on the machine, and those will gradually dribble out over the next several weeks. But I always like to get the debut video out here so that anyone who wants to purchase the machine can see it running, right? See that, kind of get an idea of what you're getting. I appreciate all of you watching, and hang in there. If you're looking for a sewing machine and you're not in my area, keep looking. Sewing machines have started to get a little more scarce. Even the new crappy ones are in short supply. Those new plastic wonders that they sell because of the current situation and so many people are wanting to sew. But anyway, this is a hobby, been going on 9 years now, and I really enjoy seeing these machines come back to life. I don't have as many as I normally do, and that has a lot to do with right now very few of the machines are on the market. They're getting bought up pretty quickly. But this is currently one that I've got, and just reach out to me if you are in our area and you would like to come and set up a time to see it. We will put it outside on a lovely day, and you're welcome to come and check it out. You can test it, you can test sew on it, and everything will be sanitized for you. Of course, respecting distancing, social distancing rules as well, guys. But don't let that stop you from setting up a time to come and look at it. It is truly one of the most powerful domestic consumer items I've ever come across, period. And certainly, I believe it's the strongest domestic sewing machine ever made. And I know it's kind of a big dramatic statement, but I think I can stand behind it. If any of you think, again, this is a straight stitch machine. If you know of a straight stitch machine that you think is stronger than the 15-91, feel free to put it down there in the comments. Because, you know, who knows, maybe you have come across something stronger. I don't know. Thanks for watching, everyone, and stay tuned. We will see you next time.